心大德圣听，为是法会及一切众生，心赞妙法论教导我们如何了生错事离苦得乐，殊真无生。With the Sangha, we crave virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dhamma will to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize none but.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto sucedoye olahudi sanmyao sanputoshe.
Namo saranto sucedoye arahati samya sanputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Together, supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a million eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dhamma friends, welcome, good evening to our Sutra lecture tonight. We're here at the Berkeley Monastery. Today is actually October 14th. We're nearly halfway through the month. We have another week of Libra left. We're officially into autumn since mid-September. And we're going to be looking into the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, the 10 grounds chapter on the 8th ground, the 8th stage. So let's get our lecture underway with an invocation. Here's the words we're going to be chanting on the top of the sutra. Namo Ta Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Ji Hua Yin Hai Hui Fo Bu Sa. Namo Ta Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Ji Hua Yin Hai Hui Fo Bu Sa. Namo Da Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Mo Bu Sa. Nam Da Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Mo Bu Sa. Namo Da Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Mo Bu Sa. Namo Da Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Mo Bu Sa. Namo Da Phang Guang Fu Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Hui Mo Bu Sa. Okay. Do you all have a text? You want to turn to page 14 and 15. 14 is the Chinese side, 15 is the English side. We'd like to ask people coming in to listen, if they please sit in the front, fill in the front. So when the lecture began tonight, that means you, Alice, that means you, Tina. Please sit in front, thank you. When we started the lecture tonight, I counted 13 people here present, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. There is a saying, I think it's probably a law, that any event in Berkeley, if it's naked cowboys from Mars coming together, will gather 12 people. Any event you care to throw in Berkeley, there will be 12 people sitting when you begin. Most of them with white hair, very kindly sitting around, listening to you talk about the effect of Baroque architecture on Papago Indian dwellings and all those other pressing items. And by golly, we made it tonight. We had 13 folks here. So, how many online, Jerry? 23 online. See, you know. Yeah. So tonight, let me give you a preview of what we're about. We're moving through our 8th ground. We had a big conversation on Monday at City of 10,000 Buddhas during our translation. We actually got, excuse me, we got a quorum of people moving to translate the name away from ground and translate it instead to something like stage or grade or level. We're talking about the title of this text. And from the first time Master Hua lectured it, the BTTS translators opened up their Matthew's Chinese English Dictionary and they had the word di, and the di said ground or earth. And so it became the 10 grounds. But a ground is not a thing in English, the way this is meant. It's meant a series of steps. What do we say? We say grades. First grade, second grade, third grade. We say levels. First level, second level. We say stages. We even say floors. The fourth floor, ding, right? But we don't say grounds. It's just an unfortunate, nobody corrected it the first time they said it, and we got it stuck in our ear, so it became the 10 grounds chapter, which is dumb. Doesn't work, but it's the way we call it. And so we went ahead and called it the 10 grounds chapter, and it's kind of in our brains that that's what the Buddha meant when he said Dasha Bhumi, if that's what the Buddha said. So we were thinking, it'd be good, change it. So we're into that. And the reason I'm bringing it up now before we begin is every time I mention we're lecturing on the 10 grounds chapter, my brain goes, that needs correcting. So probably we're going to call it the 10 stages. Right? 10 stages. The Sanskrit is bhumi, which means a grade. Bodhisattvas go up various grades, 53 altogether. So this is the chapter that is talking particularly about the Bodhisattva's 10 grades. So anyway, that's just to say we're putting the word grounds right in the center of the bullseye, and we're going shooting them arrows at it, and we're going to pin it down and wrestle it into submission and change it. It's going to be different when we're done. We got 2 more stages to go. There are other translations of this chapter. Other translators have done it, and sure enough, they don't say ground. Right? So, what ground are you on? Coffee grounds? Right? Major Dixon's blend? That's what we do with grounds in English. Grounds? Yeah, but not in this use. And it doesn't translate the Sanskrit right. It's just the first thing they grabbed back when, we didn't know much Chinese back then. We depended upon, there was one dictionary, we all had one. R.H. Matthews. He was a Christian missionary, right? And put together a bang-up dictionary that held for a century. Harvard University Press published it, and then it got now it's public domain. It's been reprinted and reprinted. But it was not the right choice for the Dashabhumi chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Should have been 10 stages, 10 levels, 10 grades, 3 perfectly good choices that in English make sense. But you say, what ground is the Bodhisattva on? Well, the same as you, dirt, right? That ground. But we say, what level has he gone to? Well, he's on the 8th level now. He's on the 8th stage. He's on the 8th grade, not the 8th ground. Not. So we're going to actually step up and say, tweet, time to change that. Get it in our ear differently. Okay, that's enough of a rant on that, just to say. So it's going to be unpopular with the other translators, probably, because they're not used to talking to English people, English speakers. When you go out in the English-speaking world and you say, we're talking the 10 grounds chapter, okay. Where are we in our 10 stages chapter? Last week we talked about limitlessly many. And the Buddhas were telling the Bodhisattva, boy, we got all these great qualities. You don't have them yet, but if you continue, you will. Right? Remember where we were? This is the exhortation from the Buddhas to the Bodhisattva who's on the 8th stage, telling him to go forward. Today, we're going to get to a part of the sutra that explains why. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs to go before we get the big motive, the reason for this, coming up. So, we got the big tell, they say, the real heartbeat reason for the Buddhas to come and urge our Bodhisattva to keep going. Okay, we're down at the bottom. Last paragraph on page 14 and 15. Everybody find it? You ready? It's Yo Shan Nanzi Ru Jin Shi De Ci Yi Fa Ming. That one. We touched it last week. We didn't finish it. And on 15, it's the last paragraph. Ready? Okay, I'll give you a line. You give it back if you like. Yo Shan Nanzi Ru Jin Shi De Ci Yi Fa Ming. 所谓一切法无生，无分别，善男子，如来法明，无量入，无量坐，无量转，乃至百千亿，哪有他劫，不可得知。 汝应修行，成就此法。Great. Okay. Good stuff. Over to the right. Let's do it in unison. Can we do a choral reading, a unison reading? Here we go. Ready? Moreover, good man, it is right you have understood this dharma / fact. Here we go. Together. That is to say, that all dharmas neither come into being, nor are they different from one another. Even so, good man, the Tathagata's understanding of phenomena, their unlimited mastery, unlimited creation, and unlimited evolution could not be known in as many as 100,000 kotis of nayutas of kalpas. You should cultivate and achieve their understanding. Okay. Some internal contradictions here in this statement. We'll unpack them as we go. So, the Buddhas, this is the Buddha's voice. The Buddha's talking to the Bodhisattva who's on the 8th stage. And they say, good man, it could be good woman. It's gender free. Good person, good human. It is right. Rujin Shida, you should. In other words, this is... it's appropriate. It's the right thing. That's shi here, shida. Ru jin shida ci yi fa ming. Okay, de is the active verb. That's the locomotive that drives the train. That's the engine that drives the train. De, you ought to get, 此一法明, this very Dharma Ming. A little bit problematic here. You should get this light. You should get this clarity. You should get this understanding. All three words would work for Ming here, right? Ru Jin Shi De. You should understand this clearly, they say. Time for you to get this, is what they're saying. Okay? In real English, they're saying, get this now. You ought to understand this. Get this clearly. Fa Ming, what? This Dharma understanding. Good for you to get this Dharma understanding now. It's time, right? They're saying. Time for you to get this. It's ripe. The time is ripe. And the time is right for you to get this now. Okay? So, the Buddhas, I mean, is this like lofty philosophical language? No, the Buddhas are going, understand this. Kind of like they're picking him up by the scruff of the neck. Get this now. Understand this. Talking right to the Bodhisattva. Okay? Now, they say, what are we talking about? We mean iche fa. Everything, entirely, wu sheng wu fen bie, doesn't come about and is not different from each other. Right? The Buddhas are like lifting the hood. They go around to the front of the car. This is a front engine car. They're lifting the engine cover, the hood on the car, and they're going, take a look. See this engine in the universe? If the universe was a car, they're going, see this? You want to know how it works? Nothing here came into being, and nothing's different from each other. Right? I mean, if the Buddhas are talking to you, if they were talking to me about this, I'd be alarmed right then. I'd go, what? Iche fa wu sheng. Of all the things in the world, none of it came about. None of it came into being. And furthermore, you can't tell anything different one from the other. So what is that? It's nonsense on the face of it, right? But it's not, because this is the Buddhas telling them that. Buddha's describing a deeper level than logical mind, clearly. This is not just the binary universe, right, wrong, true, false, yes, no, up, down. It's a deeper level. They're giving the Bodhisattva an insight into the real workings of things, right? Okay, you get my analogy of a car. We've used this before, right? How many people, when they press the button, their electronic key lock, right, and they open the door, and they sit in there, and they fasten their seatbelt, and they put the key in the ignition, or if you've got these days, push-button ignition. How many people, before they go to where they want to go, worry about, let's see now, in this engine, there's a spark, and it ignites the oil, the gas, and the air, and the piston presses down, and the crankshaft turns, and it goes to the drive shaft and through the differential. Depending on the speed I've got in my transmission, it goes to the axles, and the axles turn the wheel, and I move. Mostly we don't, right? We don't do that. We go, hit the gas, hold the steering wheel, use your turn signal, hit the brake. I arrived. I made it to the gas station. I made it to the grocery store. I made it to the Safeway, the Buy-Right. Used to be, Rexall. I made it to the drugstore. That's what we do. We don't think about the engine. Rarely do you lift the hood to go look. I used to drive a 1962 Volkswagen Beetle. Oh boy, 40 horsepower engine, 4 cylinders, horizontal, right? VWs, they were totally fixable. And every time I turned the key, I would listen. My ear would go out to that engine. Is it did I adjust the dwell correctly in the distributor? Because why? That was under my fingers. And I would listen to, if I would also watch the exhaust, because it was air-cooled. And this is an air-cooled engine. And if it was running, if the exhaust was too dark, chances are one of my 4 cylinders was running too rich. And if I didn't get it fixed, I could burn out that cylinder. And there was one, it was the right rear, was always the hottest one because it was behind the fan. So, I was intimately connected to my 40 horsepower engine. And with an engine like that, wow, if you had a strong headwind, you could be pushed back by the headwind. And if you're going downhill, you speed up, And, oh boy, if you were going uphill, it slowed you down. If you were going to pass something you had to calculate, you didn't pass buses or, 16-wheel, because you'd get halfway there and the wind would blow and you'd go back. And you might not make that pass. So, but it was wonderful because I was connected to the engine. I was really aware of how those 4 cylinders transmitted the pop in the cylinder to the turning of the wheels. I was connected to it. I knew the source of my forward motion, my backward motion. Now, too many computers in between that key and go, My brain doesn't go into the engine of my Subaru. So now nobody thinks to look under the hood. But here's the Buddha saying, okay, you want to know about creation? You want to know how all things work? Well, mostly we answer, no, not really, thanks. I'm mostly interested in, getting food and getting to where I'm going and making sure everybody's safe. And some people answer, yeah, I really want to know what's going on with these flowers. I really want to know why, when this teacup was set down on the stand, 20 minutes ago it was too hot to drink. Now, it's just right, it's on the cool side. What happened in the 20 minutes? Well, it cooled off. What's going on? Some people go deeper. How come when I hit this, listen. But when I hit this, listen. What's going on? How come that? And Mr. Science would go, oh, because that's metal and this is wood. But how come? Some people go deeper. Here, the Buddhas are going deeper. They're talking to the Bodhisattva's deepest wisdom. They're saying, what? It's time for you to understand this Dharma, they say. You know what we're talking about it? 一切法无生无分别. Everything in the universe doesn't come about. It's not made, and there's nothing different from anything else. So that's not really different. The wood and the metal are not different. The Volkswagen with the hood up, you look at it, it's no different than if you just drove. You think you understand it, you don't. Okay? So, how about that? All dharmas neither come into being nor are they different from each other. Do you get that much? And the Bodhisattva's going, They say, okay, you should cultivate and achieve this understanding. You need to know this, they're saying. All Buddhas know this. What do they go? They say, Shananzi Rulai Faming. What is the Tathagata's Dharma understanding? The way the Buddha understands it, he knows Wuliang Ru, how limitless amounts of things begin. Ru is like triggered, right? Initiated. Wuliang Zuo, come into being, and Wuliang Zhuan, limitless evolution, limitless changes. The Tathagata sees it all, opens his eyes, and gets it all instantly. You're not there yet, they're saying. You don't understand that yet. 乃至百千亿哪有他劫, even to the point of 100,000, 10 million nayutas of eons. A nayuta is an uncountable time. An eon is this different, we looked it up. A kalpa, we could have translated it as eons. There's an actual physical number that science talks about. It's 10 billion eon. How much? With a B? 1 billion. Billion years. Okay, that's an eon. There's another use of the word eon, which basically means infinity. All right? Infinity. So, the Tathagata's understanding of dharmas, with limitless creations, limitless doings, and then limitless changes up to, throughout all those many eons, fundamentally you can't know them, but you know what? 如应修行成就. If you cultivate, you'll know this. You'll get it all. Okay? So, he's good, Mani. Don't worry on my behalf. He's fine. He's exploring, kinetic knowledge. So that's good. So, you should understand this. You can get it. Saying. It says, if you cultivate, that's the key word. 如应修行. You should cultivate and understand that. Okay? Got it? That's what the Bodhisattvas are saying. It's kind of like they're dangling something in front of the Bodhisattva. They're saying, okay, everything in the world isn't made and it's not different from each other. You don't know that. Buddhas know it and can take it out through endless eons of time. If you cultivate, you can know that. So, it's like, does that spark curiosity in you? Most of us don't know why we go into moods. How come we're feeling blue today? How come those funny pictures happened in my mind today? We are so out of control of our basic processes. We don't go there. Our bodies and minds are like no-fly zones. Why are you angry? I don't know, I'm just kind of angry. Why are you so depressed? I don't know, I'm just kind of depressed. And even more frustrating when you see I'm really tempted to talk. I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. Not going to go there. I won't. That's not right. I shouldn't. Healthcare. Don't. And you think, that's not right. Why are we doing that? That's not right. So, we don't know. We're like out of control of so much of our lives that we live in every day. When was there a day in your life you were outside your body? Never. We're always kind of in there looking out, thinking the world's outside, but we don't know the basics about our bodies and our minds functioning. We don't know what we're capable of. Occasionally we get a glimpse of realms beyond, right? Somebody told me, anybody see the movie Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch, the recent one? I didn't until recently. Somebody told me, they said, wow, the new Doctor Strange is the most Buddhist movie, isn't it? And I said, well, I haven't seen it, So there's one of the early scenes, Doctor Strange is a Marvel character, is a surgeon, and he's, master of all he surveys. He's a really, really smart guy and a brilliant surgeon. But he has an accident. He's texting while he drives, loses control of his sports car, and has a horrible accident, and loses use of his hands. His precious surgeon's hands start to shake. He had 18 pins in there or something. And so he goes looking for somebody who can restore use of his hands, and he's sent to a spiritual cult in the Himalayas, of course, somewhere in Nepal. And the elder, what's her name? The ancient one is the character who's the Zen master, right? And she snaps her fingers and takes him out of his current frog in the bottom of the well reality and shows him all the other doors that open up from the conscious mind. And they use beautiful, computer graphics, amazing special effects to take him out of his mind. And it's quite believable how how the movie expands his awareness in a finger snap, And the Tilda Swinton is the Zen master, and she's very good believable as somebody who's in touch with expanded realms, right? And poor Dr. Strange gets put through the ringer as his tiny realities expanded for him, And so it's interesting, and the way the script describes everything is made from the mind, from each thought. There's somebody checked some Mahayana understandings before they wrote the dialogue. It's pretty good, actually, and certainly the one going to the many, going to the many, going to the many, that kind of. The Chinese say 一本善为无量数，万数仍归一本. One root expands into limitless branch tips, and all the limitless branch tips return to a single root. They do that really quite well. And a lot of the film is combat, martial arts type, ninja type. So that's not that interesting. But when they touch some of the principles, it's kind of nice. Anyway, so the Buddhas are telling the Bodhisattva, that's your potential. You can go there. It's yours if you cultivate. You want to go? They're trying to get him or her to keep going. Right? So far, so good? Turn to page 16 and 17, please. 又善男子，汝观十方无量国度、无量众生、无量法、种种差别，悉应如是通达其事。Moreover, good man, good person, as you contemplate all the various differences in the limitlessly many countries of the 10 directions, their limitlessly many sentient beings, and limitlessly many phenomena, you should thoroughly comprehend the attributes, their attributes, as they really are. Let's go word by word. Yo Shananzi, okay, same. Same as yo Shananzi. Ru Guan, here's the verb, take a look at Shifang, 10 directions. What are the 10 directions? Shifu occasionally would run you through them. You'd know what was coming. He'd say, Dong Fang, Xi Fang, Nan Fang, Bei Fang, Si Wei Shang Xia. 4 intermediates above and below. Take you through the 10 directions. Brings you back to the heart. That's the neat thing about the 10 directions is when you're done, you're right back in the center. You've created a sphere with you in the center. And that's a possessive. So in the 10 directions, all of their wu liang, no measuring, no way to measure them, no yardstick, no container is big enough to measure all the guo du, all the countries, to measure all the zhongsheng, all the sentient beings in all of those countries. Wu liang fa, all the phenomena, all the stuff that's going on in those countries, in those living beings. 种种区别, with their many, many differences and distinctions. Okay, so you got it? The Buddha's making sense. He's saying, okay, he says, think 10 directions, all directions. Think all the countries, all the lands in those 10 directions. What do we have? We have a planet. And if you can imagine, anybody ever held up a globe and looked for Australia? Right? And mostly we look for the upper half. You turn it. Oh, there's Africa. The equator goes right across Congo, the Congo, the Republic of Congo. We look at Europe. The equator goes across Brazil, Latin America. How many times, if you want to find Australia, you know what you have to do? You have to do this. There it is. Down there. It's way under, right? Down under. Australia's whoop, under there, right? We're looking here, and Australia's down there. Oh, yeah. And New Zealand is even further, right? For you Kiwis, right? So, think that, and then do it in 10 directions, all those, and then you think, okay, one country, how many living beings? You want to pin it down? You want to think of it in reality? We were talking this afternoon about fires. And Northern California, not everybody who's listening is tuned in to what happened here. But this time last week, we were sitting here talking, we didn't have a thought of forest fires, right? And then 24 hours later, right, I drove up to Ukiah last Sunday, 2 p.m., not a spark, not a puff of smoke. And 7 hours later, we think the wind blew up. Maybe it blew a transformer off a pole. Maybe the wires came down and sparked. But 17 fires started to burn. And people lost everything. Everything. Came back. Sorry, you can't go to your home. So we were talking today, and it's always human-centric when we think about disasters. But imagine if you thought about living beings. Who else perished or lost everything? Think of the squirrels. We love our red-tailed squirrels, right? Think of the snails. Think of the California scrub jays. Think of the crows. The crows probably did okay. Crows are very adaptable, and they would band together, and crows are super bright. But what about the four-legged, the deer? What about the foxes, who don't want to abandon their dens? Peacocks, babies now at CTTB, their babies are this big. Saw a mother peacock, last Sunday with 2 chicks that made it, and they're this big. They're not able to fly up in the trees. You all know about peacock life cycles? Probably not if you haven't lived with them, but at City of 10,000 Buddhas, we live with peacocks. And it's quite wonderful, because there's a constant population there. So the eggs are laid, and mom is on the eggs. And peacocks are pretty fierce. Mother peacocks, big beaks, big claws. Once the eggs hatch, there's a day when this mother appears, and behind her are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little puffballs. They're just that big. And they're like, and the mom has this language. You didn't know that mother peacocks had all these words, and her words are like, and all that cheep, cheep, follow her, and she's like going like this, because these little things are you just don't. I saw one step on one once. Ah, you know, but she's like very carefully stepping, and then you watch and you go, oh, how wonderful, how charming. 6 of them. 2 days later, 5 of them. And then 3 days later, there's 4. And you know that the local foxes, the local cats, the dogs, the possums, the weasels, and, you know, everything loves a little peacock snack. And if 2 make it out of 6, pretty good average. And there's a moment when those baby peacocks can spread their wings and make it up into the trees. And there's about a week when they're almost there, and you watch, and the mother peacock is down there with the 2 remaining babies, and she's going flap, 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 and then she goes up to the low branch, and the babies are like, and she's like, comes back down, flap, 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 flap. She does it 5 times, and one of the babies goes, you know. And then there's the magic day when she goes flap, 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 and the baby goes flap, 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 flap. Oh, makes it. 1 more peacock will survive, right? Because they spend their nights up in the tip top of these live oak trees. These are monster live oaks. They're magnificent Northern California valley oaks, right? And the peacocks go all, you don't know the peacocks can fly. They put those wings out and they go all the way to the top of the tree. And once the baby can get to the bottom branch, they're safe from all the land-bound predators, right? The foxes and the cats and the feral dogs and the other meat skunks. Skunks love baby pheasants, baby peacock. Once they can make it to the top of the tree, safe. Until the fires come. Right? So, when you think, what does it say? Living beings. Think about the ants that are not fireproof. Think about the snakes. Right? Healthy population of rattlers, they can't outrun a fire. They were saying this week, the fires are burning faster than the firemen can run. That headline, that's one of those sentences that will come out of these fires and survive. The fires are, the grass is so dry and the winds are so strong, firemen have to pull back because they'll burn. So think about all the living beings that lose everything in fires, right? So, the limitlessly many sentient beings in all those worlds, in all those countries, in all those directions, all those phenomena, you should thoroughly understand them just the way they are. Just the way they are. How about that? Right? It's so interesting that cultures get stuck on certain things. We are stuck on our money and big money. So what do? You know, NPR. Funny, I haven't been in my car since, essentially since since January when I went to Australia. So it's been about 8 or 9 months since I've been driving a lot in my car. I've been in other countries, I've been traveling. And when I'm in my car, I listen to NPR, my choice of radio. And NPR ends every news broadcast with the stock market report, the Dow Jones, and the Hang Seng Index, which is Hong Kong. You know, I don't have a stock portfolio, and I don't care about the fluctuations of the Dow Jones average. But that's news enough to spend part of this precious seconds of the broadcast to report. What does that tell us? what our culture is hung up on. We become what we behold, right? So what are the attributes of our culture is Wall Street. People care about Wall Street. But you know what we don't care about so much? The reality that, guess what? Jobs are disappearing. You know what they say is going to be the job that we're going to lose fastest? Driving. Driving's going away as we sit here. Right? Remember, this is about 2 years ago, there was this wonderful article that said, humans are about to become the next horse. And we all went, ha ha, what does that mean? And this was actually a 4-minute, I think we showed it here, 4 or 5 minute video. It was a YouTube video. And it was a brilliant description of the loss of jobs in the workplace. What did it say? It said, in 1900, we all had relationships with horses. All of us did. Because why? Cars were not something everybody had. Right? The Model T Ford, Henry Ford, Dearborn, Michigan, not far from Toledo, Ohio, was where the Fords came from. And after Model T was created, suddenly motor cars replaced horses. When people bought cars, what did they stop caring about? They stopped caring about hay and barns and stables and hitching posts and drinking troughs and saddles and bridles and curry combs and blacksmiths and all the industry around the maintenance of horses, right? My God. Everybody had to know the difference between a mare and a stallion and a foal and, if you thought about a trip, you thought about how far can horses go before they have to switch or stop overnight. And if you stop overnight, you got to find a stable. You know why? Because we dealt with horses. And in a matter of decades, gone. All that was gone. Horse drivers, right? I didn't even know what they were called. Mule team, horse, I guess, what do you call them? People who, drovers. Gone, right? Is that a question? No? Okay. I saw your hand up. I thought maybe you had a question. Okay. So, yeah, horses were gone, and cars replaced them entirely. And so this beautiful, brilliant essay said, humans are the next horses. Which is to say, we're not going to be driving after another probably 5 or 6 years, because why? Way, way better to have self-driving cars on roads that can, if you have a computer regulating your car, you know what you can do? You can put cars way closer together on the freeway because they're not going to collide. You can just have 10 feet between each car, more cars per road, more efficient, no traffic jams. Bzzz, right? No accidents, etc. Oh boy. They were talking about, I saw, legislating all electric cars. Canada was talking about it, Japan was talking about it, which means no dependence on fossil fuel and the fluctuations of Middle Eastern governments. Right? Well, oil is big bucks, but what if oil companies buy the electric car market? Don't you know that's where the investment is going now? Not into more oil, because people see oil is finite, right? Electricity, okay, so self-driving cars, drivers, right? bus drivers, chauffeurs. That's not the industry that's not the trade to learn now. Interesting. Living beings. Phil. Truckers. Deliveries. Somebody was saying Amazon is completely investing in what? Drone delivery. Drone delivery, right? Your package is going to come by drone, not by driver. Brown UPS, right? Not for long. How interesting. Big changes. And what are humans going to be doing with their time other than fighting fires and moving away from the coast? Right? Not a good place to buy real estate. Miami, Manhattan, Houston. We're going to be pulling back from the coast because the coast is going to be wet. So, big changes coming up, you know. And here, the Buddhas are saying, yeah. Limitlessly many phenomena thoroughly understand these attributes as they really are. Xi ying ru shi tong da qi shi. All should, as real, thoroughly reach these things. Tong da. Get this stuff. Understand it. Why? Because, why? Here's why. Ready? Next paragraph. We're on page 16. Second paragraph, page 16. Here's the key coming up. 佛子诸佛世尊 于此菩萨如是等无量启智门，令其能起无量无边差别智业。Disciples of the Buddha, the Buddhas, world-honored ones, bestow limitlessly many methods for initiating wisdom, such as these, upon the Bodhisattva, so that he or she can initiate limitless and boundlessly many wise actions. 佛子若诸佛不于此菩萨启智门者，彼时即入究竟涅槃，舍弃舍一切，利众生业. Disciples of the Buddha, if the Buddhas did not bestow the methods for initiating wisdom upon the Bodhisattva, he or she would realize ultimate nirvana right then, and he would abandon his work of helping living beings. There it is. That's what's at stake here. Right? Okay, what's being talked about? Let's go back to the paragraph above. Disciples of the Buddha, the Buddhas, world-honored ones, bestow limitlessly many methods for initiating wisdom such as these upon the Bodhisattva. Methods for initiating wisdom. In other words, kind of like sparks that will later develop into the Bodhisattva's wisdom. They're saying, okay, here's a door, or here's a match like this one. Here's a match like this one. Switch the metaphor. Here's a door, go through here. Here's a door, go through here. You go this way. Here's a road, go that, take that. Limitlessly many ways to get wise like this. Now, this is the last statement of a series of pushes, a series of exhortations that we've had for about 3 or 4 weeks, right? Because why? Remember, they shame the Bodhisattva, they entice the Bodhisattva, they don't threaten him. There's no threats in Buddhism. They dangle something in front of him, they play on his emotions, they say, living beings are suffering, you can't forget them, you gotta go. They're hurting and you know how to save them, and if you don't, they're suffering. You know, they push on the Bodhisattva's tender feelings. All these different ways. Now they're saying to the Bodhisattva, you can know things that only the Buddhas know if you go forward. Right? Neat, huh? Very cool. Very cool. And These are all methods for starting wisdom. They want him to get wise. Keep going, keep going. Why? Because if they didn't, the Bodhisattva would enter nirvana and their path would end. And they're not there yet. Okay? There's the clue. That's not the clue, that's the answer. That's the actual, that's the reason for all of this. The Bodhisattva hasn't gotten to the end of his path, her path yet, but there's a nirvana, a lesser nirvana, that they could enter here and quit. That would be the end. Okay? Now, some people would be reading this and go, but I thought nirvana was the ultimate, right? There are multiple levels of nirvana. And this is a inferior one compared to what happens if the Bodhisattva keeps going. Because this is the 8th stage, right? There's 2 more stages to go. And the 10th stage is not even Buddhahood yet. So there's more steps. They're saying, we want to get you all the way to Seattle. And don't quit in Portland. We want to get you all the way to Montreal. Don't stop with Toronto. We want to get you all the way to Rome. Don't stop in what's an inferior destination to Rome. Don't stop in Paris. Paris is tough not to stop in Paris. But you're going to Rome, right? Keep going. Don't quit. You're going all the way to Detroit. Don't stop in Toledo. Hypothetically. Right? Nobody really wants to go to Detroit. So, okay, that's the reason. And I get it. Right? So what this text tells us is there are many levels of awareness, and it's really tempting, because why? This is hard. This is hard stuff. To keep on going. The Bodhisattva has seen reality crumble in the earlier part of this chapter. And the Buddhas showed up for that reason. Go, go, go. Don't quit. Don't think you're crazy. You're not crazy. There's more. This is just the next step. And if you keep going, it'll all find its place. It's going to work itself out. But you have to keep going. You can't quit. Okay? So, reading along in the Avatamsaka Sutra, I remember this chapter in particular, this part of this chapter, because it's so human and it's so not philosophical. Right? This is emotional, if anything. As much as the sutra is emotional, this is it. Because the Buddhas clearly want to prevent something from happening, which is likely to happen, which is the Bodhisattva is likely to go, I'm done. It's enough. This is not making sense. This is scary. It's hard. And nirvana looks really good. I could rest here. I could quit, and it would be very, comfortable. And it's like counterintuitive for the Bodhisattva to get up his vigor and keep going, Because they described it before as the amount of effort required to pull yourself out of a fast-moving river that you fell into. If you don't want to drown, you've got to exert to get across. You've got to really swim, to reach the other shore. And if you do, you're safe. If you don't, downstream you go. Hard work, but that's what's required. And the result of hard work, you reach the other shore. You're safe. You're out of the river. That's what they describe it as. So who's going to do that? Only somebody who's really motivated. And here are the Buddhas motivating this person. Go, go, go. Don't stop. Is that interesting? Right? So I think back to Master Hua. when did we put ourselves in a similar situation? It would be in a Chan session. During a Chan session, it's a funny, artificial kind of world. Chan sessions are meditation retreats, right? That's what we call them. Chan Qi, Chan sevens, because you do it for a week. That's the measure. You could do 1, 2, 3 weeks, but you do a Chan Qi. And during a Chan Qi, you have to get your energy up. What do? They go, Qi, rise up. Not Qi of 7, but Qi, Qi lai de Qi. The Qi of rise up. Rise it up. Get your energy up. Pick your energy up. And so you have to kind of, what do you have to get your energy up for? Sitting still. Get out there, boogie, sit still. Right? And it's one of the more interesting behaviors for humanity, for humans, is to sit vigorously, right? So you have to sustain it too. That's the thing. If you're vigorous for a day, but then you're lazy on the second day, that doesn't count. You have to keep going. And if you do, you kind of reach warp speed. You reach an altitude where you cruise. And that state in a Chan session where you actually kind of break through the pain, the boredom, the craziness, the yammering of your mind, the squirrel cage, you get to this place where everything's really okay. And it's this expansive state where it's beyond pain, and it's not nothing, and it's also not dull. It's not this kind of zombie state. That state of meditation where you're broken through is this. They say 万里青天,万里无云. 10,000 miles of blue sky, 10,000 miles without a cloud, and it's just this wonderful state. But you have to vigorously get there. You got to struggle to get to that stillness. It's amazing how, when I think about it in those terms, it's really contradictory, right? But it's true. You can experience it. And you have to be vigorous to get there. A closer analogy, you ride a bike, bicycle riders, right? If you watch the bicycle wheel, it spins until the spokes become invisible, right? The spokes just kind of become clear because the wheel is turning enough. If it slows down, there are all these little spokes, little sticks there, holding the wheel equidistant, right? But if you go fast enough, you notice it's different. You ever look into a jet engine in a video, picture how a jet engine turns, and they paint it, and it just seems like it's clear? In fact, there's something turning very fast. It's just like that. dear brothers, return and turn again. Won't you turn your hearts back before there's a who and a when? We all want peace, but peace is where it begins. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. Return, my dear sisters. Return and turn again. Won't you turn your hearts back before there's a who and a when? We all want peace, but peace is where we begin. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. Keep turning. Return, friends and neighbors. Return and turn again. Won't you turn your hearts back before there's an us and a them? We all want peace, but peace is where you begin. I bid you turn, return, turn again. Return, you world leaders. Turn and turn again. Won't you turn your politics back to the welfare of women and men? We all want peace, but peace is where we begin. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. Return, all you religions. Return and turn again. Won't you turn your doctrines round, away from fear and sin? You all preach peace. Now show us how it begins. Let's pray to turn, return, and turn again. So I was talking to an elderly woman today, somebody who's got a, you could say a traditional view, I guess that's a comfortable way to say it. By tradition, I mean non-scientific view, pre-scientific, something that's been around a long time. And this view puts together humans, heaven, and earth. When things go wrong in the human realm, it's usually the human's fault because we haven't done our job between heaven and earth in this view. And this elderly woman deeply, deeply believes in it. So I said, wow, what about those fires? She said, you know who's at fault? Who's been talking fire? Who's been talking war? I thought of this song, So if we're talking fire, bringing fire down, if you're the leader of the country, you can't talk like that without there being consequences, according to that view. Interesting view. Huh? I'm not espousing it. That didn't come from me. I'm just quoting somebody who brought that up to me today. People have been thinking that way much, much longer than the scientific view that looks for a reason in nature. Was it a human-caused fire? Doesn't look like it. Nature. So why did nature pick this time to burn? What's your answer? Kind of puts us into the spiritual realm in a way. Where do you look for your cause for Northern California? Lots of cows up there, lots of grapes. Not that many people. assigning blame. It's kind of... Return, my dear brothers, return, turn again. Won't you turn your hearts back before there's a who and a when? We all want peace, but peace is where it begins. You can join if you care. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. We do it again. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. Return, my dear sisters, return, return again. Won't you turn your hearts back before there's a who and a when? We all want peace, but peace is where we begin. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. Bid you turn, return, and turn again. Return, friends and neighbors, return and turn again. Won't you turn your hearts back before there's an us and a them? We all want peace, but peace is where you begin. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. By the way, this is on page 48 in your songbook. If anybody's got one. Leaders, here we go. Return, you world leaders, won't you turn and turn again? Won't you turn your politics to the welfare of women and men instead of wherever you're turning them? Why aren't politics there to bring welfare to women and men? We all want peace, won't you lead us to where it begins? I bid you turn, return, and turn again. I bid you turn, return, and turn again. I lost. There we go. There we go. That's the note I want. Okay, let's go to the religions. The important part about this song is that religions get their due, right? Religions get to answer too. Here we go. Return, all you religions, return and turn again. Won't you turn your doctrines round away from fear and sin? You all preach peace, now show us how it begins. Let's pray to turn, return, and turn again. Let's pray to turn, return, and turn again. Let's pray to turn, return, and turn again. Amen. Hallelujah. Can I get a praise Buddha? By golly. So why not? I mean, well, the answer is money. That's why not. But that's not new. It's the way it's always been. And if we're entirely mesmerized by these things, we won't even notice that the money is going away. So what has happened in the brief period of a week last Monday night, early Monday morning, last Sunday night, catastrophic fires visited Northern California. And I've been posting on my Facebook page about one community. And that community are our neighbors, the Abhayagiri forest monks, Fearless Mountain, Abhayagiri. Because I've been following particularly Ajahn Jyoti Palo, who Ajahn Pasano, the abbot, was in New Hampshire visiting their branch monastery. And so Ajahn Jyoti Palo had the responsibility of decision-making, what to do. There's a system in Redwood Valley where most of the houses are off the road, far back, and the road itself is a single-lane blacktop, even no paint stripe. It's gone from 2 lanes with paint stripes down to 2 lanes, no paint stripe, to 1 lane when it gets to them at the end of Tom Kai Road. And they have a system with all their neighbors. If somebody's injured out in these homes, which are often at the end of some, tiny driveway, they fire off their air horn every 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Somebody's injured, or somebody's having a baby, or something, help. If there's an emergency, it's hit the air horn and keep honk, honk, honk. Well, all the air horns were going off at 2 a.m. Ajahn Jyoti Palo and all the monks who were in their individual huts in the forest, surrounded by trees, right, looked up, came out, opened their door, saw red sky. Not a good sign. Everybody grabbed whatever they could that they needed, ran down the mountain to their assembly point, got their 7 cars out, because at this point there were neighbors running along and saying, "Time to go, we're evacuating. The fires are all around us. Run." Somebody came along and said, Tom Kai Road connecting to West Road, connecting to Freeway 101, the escape route, blocked. Power poles have come down, they're sparking, the fires have jumped West Road, everything is burning. You cannot go out that way. You've got to go out the dirt road to the north, which crosses 7 creeks, right? It's barely 2 wheel tracks with weeds growing up. That's the only way out now. So there was a steady stream of locals in their pickup trucks. The monks, 30 people living at Abhayagiri, counted off, found everybody was there, nobody's missing. Ajahn Jyoti Palo said, time to go north. So they all headed out north. They came to the creeks they had to cross. 2 of their cars were Priuses, not back road cars, right? These are street vehicles. They had to abandon them. And the inhabitants, the passengers in the vehicle, what are they going to do? This fire is moving very fast. So luckily, some of the neighbors said, hey, no problem, jump in my pickup. push your car off the road. So they did. The kindness of local neighbors saved them. They drove out to Willits, 40 degrees in the back of that pickup truck, everybody not knowing what's going on, right? So they made it to Willits, and the Red Cross opened up the courthouse and said, oh, here are the monks. Here, we have a corner for you here. It's clean. Please be safe here. They fed them. They respected them. Professional attitude. Ajahn Jodhipalo says, anybody says anything bad about the American Red Cross, you send them to me. I'll set them straight. He said, these people were so professional and so kind to us. So the next day, they went out to Fort Bragg, where one of their disciples had a big space and said, we'll take care of you out here. Well, they made it to Fort Bragg, and at City of 10,000 Buddhas, we were smelling all this smoke. We woke up Monday to discover that Highway 101 was shut because Santa Rosa was burning. And that's the main artery, north-south. Nobody's going north, nobody going south. Shut down, including me, who wanted to come back to Berkeley. And so we said, wow, what about Abhayagiri? We called someone that picked up their cell phone. They're in Fort Bragg. We said, would you like to come to CTTB? We have plenty of room for you. And they said, we'd like to, but we don't have enough transportation. So we sent cars. Cars got to the passage, because Fort Bragg's on the coast, turned through the woods. The police stopped us and said, get off the roads, only emergency vehicles, go back. So the first attempt was unsuccessful. Later on, they tried again, and they made it to CTTB, 30 people from Abhayagiri. No news about the monastery. So since Tuesday, we've been hosting, it's our blessing, to host our Dharma brothers and sister, Debbie and all the monks. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting to hear about what's going on in Redwood Valley. Redwood Valley fire is number 3 in priority of all the 17 fires burning in California. 5.3 square miles of forest is burned. 35,000 acres has burned, still burning. Yesterday, and the sheriff of Mendocino County has had these regular briefings. I watched it yesterday. It's webcast. Somebody was holding up a cell phone to webcast it, and it's great reception. And they've been providing up-to-date information. And of the firefighters, so originally most of the firefighters were sent to a fire in Lake County. There were 200 firefighters fighting the Redwood fire. It's called the Redwood Fire, Redwood Valley. And the fire in Lake County was contained 100%. They sent all the firefighters to the Redwood Fire, to our fire. 2,100 firefighters are on the job right now. And these are men and women, 10 or more of whom have lost houses because they're local, whose houses are burned, and they're up there fighting this fire by hand, using shovels and axes to clear a fire lane. So it's called a hard line because it's by hand. They're fighting this fire by hand. And yesterday on the broadcast, which was at 6:30 from the high school, the sheriff was talking, and he said, okay, we're ready for Q&A. And the first person to put her hand up was a Dharma protector of Abhayagiri. Her name is Neelam, and she always offers when they go for alms round, she always invites the monks in and feeds them. She said, I just wanted to say what a wonderful job the police and the fire and the firefighters have been doing, who come from where? As far away as North Carolina. There are firefighters there from Texas, from Wyoming, from every state in the Union, all the way across the country to fight the fire. She says, I want to thank them all for the job they're doing. And the sheriff says, yes, Neelam, and that's especially poignant from you, who we know has lost everything in the fire. Here's the sheriff of Mendocino County, who knows people by name and their situation vis-a-vis the fire. So Ajahn Jodhipalo says this is a very special place. Mendocino County is a place to live where we look after each other. So what we know is that the fire crews have used the parking lot of Abhayagiri as their fire engine staging area. They go out and back from there. So chances are the buildings are safe because they will have protected their own space. But we probably won't know until Monday whether the monks can go back, what they're going to find when they go back. So this story was on the front page of USA Today, how the monks had to escape, and Ajahn Jotipalo has been interviewed, and he says he hears these stories of courage and selflessness, and brings him to tears all the time when he sees how, people have been willing to give up everything to help others and fight fires. So it's quite a moment. And he says, if I can get that quote, it's quite a wonderful quote. Hold on. He says, we're hearing so many touching stories about bravery and generosity that I'm often fighting back tears. We've counted at least 10 people who are associated with Abhayagiri who've completely lost their homes in the Redwood Valley complex fire. At the meeting last night, when they opened the floor for questions, Neelam, who offers food on alms rounds, was the first to speak. She praised the first responders and thanked them for their hard work. Sheriff Tom Altman responded by saying something like, "Thank you, Neelam. That's very special coming from you, as I know you lost everything in the fire." That's the sheriff of the county, knowing the name of the individual and knowing her situation. Mendocino is a really special place. So many stories just like this. And then he goes on to say, in the midst of this, there was a 4.0 earthquake centered in Redwood Valley last night. He says, so now back to our regularly scheduled disaster. Please keep your protective chants coming our way. He said, hold on. This has also really deepened our connection and gratitude to the city of 10,000 Buddhas and to Master Hua. Many people probably didn't really know much about the earlier years and our community's connections, although we've heard the stories. But we are really feeling the strength of that connecting right now. Blessings come in many forms. So, that's our looking at this event through the lens of one community. You can see the disasters bring out the best in people, for sure. So, our transference has a lot of poignancy because today, people were evacuated for the first time from the mountains east of Calistoga and east of Santa Rosa. the fires are barely contained. Make a wish, dedicate your merit. May every living be, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, quickly, we're going to turn the projector on, move our thoughts back to something that happened 2 weeks ago. A little lighter. Okay, meeting in the airport. Happy Buddhist nuns. You don't get to see nuns smiling like that very often. Don't know why not. First day in London. Jet lag. This is Ariana. This is Trishna's second daughter. This is our dwelling at Imperial College. We had dormitory rooms. They were just great. Young girls. first big lunch. Smiling Buddhist monks. We should see that more often, right? On the bus. London, getting ready for what? National Football League. That's the US NFL. Oh my, coming to England. Beautiful panorama of that first group lunch at a vegan restaurant, lovely food. Service space made their mark. Ooh. Tower of London, Tower Bridge. This is Amaravati Buddhist Monastery. Theravada Mahayana. Beautiful fusion of Asian-influenced Western architecture. Ajahn Amaro greeting us. The inner wood is meant to look like trees. Forest monastery. Beautiful space. Tour of the grounds of Amaravati. Oh. Chanting books. This is my Dharma talk. Why do Buddhas regard patience as the supreme practice? T-shirts. Count the lambs. 1, 2, 3. All the Lamb family. We were hosted in England by the Lamb family, and they really put themselves out on our behalf. My goodness. Group photo. So let's see here. Let's actually count the Lamb family. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where's Mom? 8. 8 of them, right? That, how many came out to support our trip? This is Ajahn forget it, one of the first nuns of Ajahn Sumedho. Forget her name. Panorama, the inside of the temple. Sundara, Sister Sundara, that's her name. This is a shrine that has a story. Veggie lunch. Okay, this is the curator of the Victoria and Albert Museum's Asian art, strictly Buddhist art collection. He saw, someone in his staff saw all our robes, and he came down to say hi. I told people last week that when you travel in Europe, it's hard to find a Buddha image to bow to, particularly one that's set up for bowing. Someone said, oh, if you want to see Buddha images in Europe, go to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Well, we did. And sure enough, their Buddhist art collection is just fantastic. This is the tower that burned, Grenville Tower, the apartment. People saw that happened a couple months ago. And our delegation went to pray on behalf of those who were lost. We had an awakened circle at a church that has become a conflict resolution center. Kind of mixed up. Here's the Buddha image explanations. Victoria and Albert. Free museum. Philip, what were you excited about here? Get everybody in the right direction. Here we go. This is the name of the former church, ancient church, that had been through an earthquake and then a bomb. It was bombed in the Second World War, and then an IRA bomb blew it up a second time after it was rebuilt. Then it became a reconciliation center. Here's another panorama. In the subway. Oops. That's right, repurposing of the flowers. Flowers are doing double duty. This is one of those wonderful Buddha images that an artist was sketching. These are, right, Western faces. This is where Greece and the Hellenistic world met India. Guanzizai Pusa. Connie doesn't look very happy. Where are we? We're sitting inside boats on the Cam River, going punting, Cambridge. Cambridge is one of the world's oldest universities. Oop, sorry about that. Many bridges across the River Cam. When I was growing up, in the world, there were 3 universities that you wanted to attend if you could. One was Oxford, the other was Cambridge, and the third was the Sorbonne in Paris. From my parents' perspective, American universities simply didn't cut it. It was European universities that had the clout, and Oxford was number 1, Cambridge was number 2, and the Sorbonne was number 3. Harvard was a distant 4th or 5th. Okay, this is in Trishna's house, our second awakened circle. This is the River Thames, right outside their window, in their apartment. So this is our delegation plus the service-based friends from London who came to find out about our delegation. Snacks after the circle. Poland. Greet her at the airport. Welcome to Poland. Warsaw, Valencia. This is the Zen Center in a little town 20 miles out of Warsaw, where we stayed for 9 days, half of our group. Funky house. This was our program. We did the first night, One Mind, Ted Berger's film. And in introducing it, I sang the Empty Clouds song, having to do with Master Shuyan and Zhenru Chansi. This is our Polish translator. How do you pronounce Zbigniew down here? Anybody may know? What is it? You pronounce it Bishek. Bishek. Makes perfect sense, right? What do we call him? Molsky. We can say Molsky. Bishek. We had 3 Bisheks in our group. Common name. Here's the house. Up in the Chan Hall upstairs, the Zendo. The functioning Zen Center. Here's Star Master Jinho with his endless matchstick trick. You could do magic. Taking the train as a group. James Wynn is the guide. Here's Shifu translated into Polish. Trip to the museum. Talk at the museum on Guanyin Bodhisattva. Sorting out photographs. Selling eggs. Grandma comes into town to sell eggs, and what's in the basket? Mushrooms. Be careful. Visiting a Vietnamese temple outside of town. Friendly greeting where we had been 10 years before, but the temple was brand new. This is Guoji and Gokuk 10 years ago. These are our nuns delegation from 10 years ago. That was me 10 years ago. Look at this person. Recognize him? This is Artur, who showed up this time with 3 kids. Bogdan, our old friend. 10 years ago. These elderly ladies are from North Vietnam, and they took refuge 10 years ago. They're still around. So they came out to say hi. Ten years ago in Warsaw. Okay, we should probably break at this point. There's, you notice we're going at warp speed, and we're only halfway through the available photos. because Poland was quite the experience, and we got lots and lots of stories to tell. So we're at the Vietnamese temple. We'll continue next week with some of the stories. We'll slow down so that the stories are a little more memorable. All right. We've got a Karma Kitchen story to tell, and trip to the salt mine, and Krakow, the city of Krakow, and a Tibetan Buddhist center where we went twice, and awakened circles, and lots of stories to share. So we'll be back with that next week to wrap up. Okay, can we have the lights on? I have one more thing to announce. What's that? Ali the kookaburra? Yeah. He didn't go to Australia. He didn't go to Poland. He stayed home. Okay, what I wanted to announce was here. Oops, I guess I put them all out. There is a talk coming up. The flyers are out in the hallway. On the 28th of October, Master Guodong from Dharma Drum, Fagushan, the Daheshang, is coming to the Huachao Huodong Zhongxin in Milpitas for a talk with me. There's going to be a dialogue in Chinese. Somebody asked if there'll be translations, and I don't think so, unless you maybe work something out. But it's in Chinese, and they requested that I come dialogue. So, sure. He's a really good monk, and he's the abbot of Dharma Drum, which is, one of Taiwan's 4 major places. We are sister schools with Dharma Drum University, and the topic is going to be what's happening to Buddhism in the 21st century. And he's got a very interesting perspective, and I'll bring my ideas. So, you're going to be seeing it in the Chinese press advertised, because he doesn't get here very often. And there will be a Sangui Wujie afterwards with him, not me. So if you want to take refuge with Dharma Drum, there'll be a chance. So that's the 28th, and it's going to be in the afternoon. Okay, next weekend, here, 2-day Earth Store Bodhisattva session. So Saturday and Sunday, 地藏菩萨，就是一个菩萨2，地藏2，not 佛3，也不是禅7，是菩萨2。So if you would like to 立牌位, if you'd like to put up a 牌位, a plaque for merit, 他们今天晚上还是什么时候? The latest would be Thursday. I guess if you want to, 那个签名单可以拿出来. It's in the back on the piano. We'll bring it out if you would like to do it tonight. But before Thursday. Connie? It's another way of doing that. It's another way of dedicating merit. You put the name of somebody on the plaque. And mostly it's long life, or it's red is long life, yellow is rebirth. So yellow is when somebody's passed away already. It's in your mind. That's where it matters. But this is an outer symbol of that. Okay, so let people know about that. I don't think we're going to offer it for online. Have to be here, so probably, but that'll be Saturday and Sunday, and there'll be Bhagwan Zajia, right? Eightfold Precepts in the morning, 8 o'clock. All right, great. Okay, we'll see you all next week as the Bodhisattva makes up his mind to keep going in the 8th stage. Okay, let's transfer the merit. Bow to the Buddha. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Ji Hua Yin Hai Fo Pu Sa